Ross Jackson, LouisianaSports.net, and, of course, the Locked On Saints podcast. He joins us now. Third day in a row. We call it the trifecta. Ross is here to put a button on Saints minicamp. How is it, my man?
Hey, man. Appreciate you having me on. Glad to be here for the trifecta. I love it.
Yeah, I figured it went so well the last 2 days. Even though the Saints canceled practice today, why not do it anyway? What'd they do instead? You said team outing. What do we know what they did?
Yep, we got the deeds from Kellen Moore, the head coach. They ended up taking a team outing to 504 Golf here in New Orleans.
Oh,
kind of this golf entertainment complex that they have right off the I-10. It's awesome. It's super fun. But yeah, the Saints went out and did a little. I don't want to call it golfing because it's mostly like driving range-esque. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's awesome. It's a fun way to spend a day.
You're seeing more of those pop up, and they are a lot of fun. Okay, so that's what they did instead of minicamp, but we did get to see 2 days. We've kind of gone through those 2 days with you in the past here, but now that it's over, just kind of one or two big overarching takeaways that you had watching the 2 days of practice?
Yeah, I'll go with two of the biggest things. I say, first of all, the quarterback competition, right? That's what everybody's got their eyes on right now. I would say that it's kind of it's not a situation to where you're going to be making a decision on either one of these guys here throughout minicamps or OTAs. But I will say the closeness with which this competition feels right now is encouraging. It's promising. I think the one thing that you were kind of most afraid of happening if you're the New Orleans Saints is that you invest in, Tyler Shough, you invest last year in Spencer Rattler, you continue your investment in Spencer Rattler going into his second season, and that one of those quarterbacks shows up and loses the quarterback battle. And what I mean by that is one of them goes out there and severely underperforms to the point where the other quarterback wins the quarterback battle simply because the other one lost it. And I don't think you're seeing that so far with these two guys. And it's early. We'll see where things go. But I do think that things are in a promising place. Both these quarterbacks have shown what it is that they can do well, have shown where their growth areas are, things like that. I think they got a lot of good information as they take this break and then go into training camp later on next month. The second thing is that Kellen Moore has proven to be the right hire for the New Orleans Saints in this iteration of the New Orleans Saints, which is this young, growing team that's kind of rebuilding, has some veterans in the building, but very much is looking towards its future, all those other things. He has done such a good job so far of building relationships between the players, with the coaching staff, the community, everything from paintball to going to Holly Grove to help to rebuild a community center, the Trinity Community Center, opening minicamp to the fans and bringing fans in for those 2 days, not canceling one of the practices that the fans were in attendance for, but still canceling one to get these guys to 504 Golf, so on and so forth. You're just seeing a lot of the focus on the team from a team perspective and not just from a football perspective, while also a focus on the football perspective. And I think that's exactly the kind of coach that this New Orleans Saints team that's right now in this space and in this area of its lifespan absolutely needed.
I want to come back to Kellen Moore, but I do want to follow up, obviously, on the quarterbacks. You mentioned the competition being so close. Is it so close that you can't really decipher who might have the edge right now, or is there one guy that you've looked at and maybe that you favor a little bit more through OTAs and minicamp?
It's so close that I think that different people would say different players, that would pick a different player. You know what I mean? Like you could ask 5 different, Saints media members, and you'll probably get 2 or 3 of them going in one direction with 2 or 3 of the other going in the other direction. And I think that's good news for New Orleans. I personally would say that Spencer Rattler is in the lead. He looks most comfortable. He processes the most quickly. You can tell that he has the NFL experience. You can also tell that he's got 600 more snaps of collegiate experience and 300 more passing attempts of collegiate experience as well, playing in the SEC, so on and so forth. So I think he's just seen more at a faster speed than Tyler Shough has seen so far. But the edge that Spencer Rattler has a lot more to do with the things that he's doing well and the growth that he has shown than it has to do with Tyler Shough doing anything wrong. So that's best case scenario for both of these guys. So that's what I mean by it's close. I would say that one of these guys is in the lead right now, but I don't know that everyone would say that the same guy is in the lead because you see all of the impressive things that Tyler Shough can do. And so maybe some people would be enticed by that. So I think that's the closeness that makes it debatable, as opposed to this being a runaway situation for one guy or the other in this early stage of the competition.
That's interesting, and I agree with you. I mean, that is probably the most encouraging thing about it, is that you get different answers. That means each guy's having a great day here, a great day there. They're all doing the same things really well. I'm going to ask you to look really far into the future and do a hypothetical with me.
Okay.
Do you think it's possible that we see both of them in the regular season, regardless of how it goes with who gets the nod to start game one?
I think it's very possible. Look, I think that there's always the chance that Spencer Rattler's a starter at the beginning of the season, and then as Tyler Shough gets more time to develop, that Kellen Moore says, "Okay, it's time for me to see my guy." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked by that at all, unless Spencer Rattler goes out there and then they're winning games. Like, obviously, you're not going to change course if things are going all too perfectly and things like that. But I do think that there's a real situation where you see both those guys. There's also a situation where Tyler Shough ends up being the number one guy, and then they say, you know what, or the week one guy rather, and then they say, you know what, he could use a little bit more time developing behind the scenes, and then they go to Spencer Rattler. Like, we see this around the NFL all the time when you're trying to figure out sort of that future quarterback and that young quarterback. Have they had enough time? Have they not had enough time? Did you put them out there too early? Did you wait too long? It's such a tricky situation to navigate, because more times than not, you're wrong somewhere. And so it might not be the initial selection. It might be a move later, so on and so forth. Like, it's a challenging situation to find your starting quarterback in the NFL these days. So I absolutely think that it would not be shocking to see both of these guys at some point in 2025, even if things are, not necessarily, I don't know how to say it, but
yeah,
in either case, I do think it's possible you see both of these guys.
It's going to be fascinating to watch, man. I mean, it's just
for sure.
I mean, it's not like it's been a while. I mean, they've been wading through the uncertainty at quarterback water since Drew Brees retired.
Mm-hmm.
But in each of those situations, you really, like you had Jameis, you knew he was going to be the guy. Then you bring in Derek Carr. This is really the first time they've had like full-on competition for it. And it's a position that the franchise hasn't been in a very, very long time. So obviously it's captivating. I did want to come back to Kellen Moore. A lot's been made about the format that they've had in OTAs and minicamp, where it's just mainly 7-on-7. What have you made of that? Do you like it?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I'll be really curious to see what it means for when they do start doing full team 11-on-11 drills. I've checked in with some of the other Locked On hosts that are covering teams around the NFL and everything, and it's really unusual. Like, it's not something that a lot of teams are doing. A lot of teams are doing 11-on-11 full team drills and things like that. And so it is something that is, I don't want to say unusual. It's unique, right? It's different. And so I think though that as of right now, I would say, yeah, good call, because what you're trying to do is keep your team healthy so you can bring your roster in a training camp, which I think have not done very successfully the past few years. Like, Spencer Rattler talked about it. He said something along the lines of, like, yeah, we were doing 11-on-11s at this point in the year last year, and people were dropping like flies, right? Like, there's a real awareness to what that was. And so I think that Kellen Moore's foresight and intent of trying to keep his players healthy going into training camp is a positive. The question will be, does it yield positive results, right? Does the fact that they get into training camp and that they're a little bit less nicked up and they're a little bit less banged up and they've seen a little bit less physicality, does that prolong their ability to stay on the field? Or does it make them underprepared? We'll have to see. But I do think, like, I understand the logic of it. I get the logic of it. And now I'm just curious to see what the results of that logic will be.
Few more minutes with Ross Jackson, LouisianaSports.net, of course, the Locked On Saints podcast. You can get him on Twitter, X, at Ross Jackson Nola. Ross, one of the reasons people might not love it is it's kind of hard to evaluate the defense in certain aspects of the 7-on-7 team drills there. But one guy throughout day one of minicamp, day two of minicamp, and I'm sure if they would have practiced, it would have been day three of minicamp. Kellen Moore was asked about him both times. That's Kool-Aid McKinstry. What has stood out about him so much this week?
I mean, the answer is yes, right? Like, what's been stood out about him? Yes, right? Like, it's been a little bit of everything. I mean, he's a physical player. He is somebody that is really comfortable in this new defensive system. I think he was getting comfortable in, the system they were playing at the end of last year as well, especially over the course of those last 3 games were really strong performances by the young man. And I think that now you look at where he is, kind of back in a zone match system, which is kind of similar or familiar to what he did with Nick Saban over with the Crimson Tide. This is a guy that's seen a lot of experience, a lot of action in the SEC, was a freshman starter, so on and so forth. And I think he's only going to keep getting better. He is poised. He's composed. He's physical. He makes plays with the ball. It was one of the things that made Paulson Adebo so special despite all the penalties, is that he was physical and he would make plays at the catch point. Those are the things that he did. He was disruptive at the catch point. And I think you're seeing that from Kool-Aid McKinstry as well. And I think he's only going to get better both with time and, of course, once a pass rush is a part of the equation too. Like right now, these quarterbacks have every throwing angle available to them because there's no one standing in front of them, right? And I'm not just talking about the defensive line. I'm talking about literally having to see over the offensive line and passing lanes, all those other things. So the defensive backs are at a disadvantage because of that. Kool-Aid McKinstry, you'd never know. You'd never know. And he's getting to play now in this new system that has a little bit more zone, so allows the defensive backs to kind of have their eyes on the quarterback, be able to kind of see where it is that the quarterback's trying to go, and be able to go out there and be aggressive and make plays. And that fits Kool-Aid McKinstry's skill set to a T. He's a very technically and fundamentally sound player, and being able to play off of what the quarterback is doing is a very good technique, and it's a very fundamental part of the coverage game.
What have you seen behind him, Ross? Because, I mean, obviously, Quincy Riley's dealt with his nagging deal. You mentioned Paulson Adebo. He left in free agency. There's Alontae Taylor, Isaac Yiadom, but what have you really seen behind McKinstry at that spot?
Yeah, look, I think because of how well Kool-Aid McKinstry is playing, it's going to maximize what it is that Alontae Taylor can do specifically, because when they go to those nickel sets, you're going to be okay moving Alontae into the slot, knowing that you have Kool-Aid on one side, and then you're probably going to go to Isaac Yiadom so far over on the other side. Isaac Yiadom is a very good veteran, or a very proven veteran. We'll see how it is that he fits in this system. You go back to 2023, he was massively successful with New Orleans. Out of all the corners across the NFL that took at least 300 coverage snaps, he led the NFL in forcing completion percentage with 30%. And Paulson Adebo on the opposite side of him, not far behind, at 22%. And so I think that there's a reason to trust what it is that Isaac Yiadom can do. He knows Brandon Staley's system. They've been together before, and as recent as last year when Staley was the assistant head coach over with the San Francisco 49ers. So I think you're going to be banking a little bit on the veteran savviness and experience of Yiadom, but still a mystery in terms of how it is that he fits on the outside. Where Quincy Riley comes in, he saw his first action in team drills, the 9-on-7 drills yesterday on Wednesday, and so he's somebody that you're still waiting to see. So it is a lot. There are a lot of question marks behind those guys, but I do think that with Kool-Aid being strong where he is, and if you can find somebody to be serviceable opposite him, which I do think they can find in Yiadom, it's going to maximize Alontae Taylor in his slot role when they go to those nickel sets that allow him to be able to play that disruptive kind of enforcer kind of game that he likes to play as an aggressive player.
You know, for a team that many people aren't expecting much from, their offseason is still somehow just so darn interesting. I guess that just comes with the territory of being the New Orleans Saints and there just never being a dull moment. He is Ross Jackson, Locked On Saints podcast. Of course, read his stuff at louisianasports.net. That's free, by the way, if you haven't heard. You can get him on Twitter at Ross Jackson Nola. Ross, we appreciate the time as always, man. Thank you. Enjoy your weekend.